Hi friends, welcome back. So today I'm bringing you guys another video, and this is going to be a little bit of a different kind of video for my channel. So this is basically going to be like my foundation collection video. You guys have been requesting this for a long time. I've seen several people requesting this, basically just to go through all the foundations that I own and which ones I like the best for my skin, which is super duper oily. I feel like this is probably going to be really helpful for you guys if you are around my skin tone or my type of skin, because you know it's not the easiest to find a good foundation. And I do have a lot of first impressions on my channel, so any first impressions that I have I will also link down below. I love doing first impressions on foundations. It's one of my favorite videos to film, so it will be linked down below if I have one for the foundation that I'm going to be talking about. I do want to go through this kind of quickly because I have a lot of foundations to talk about, so I'm gonna just hit some like major points. So I'm just going to talk about like the color that I am in each one. I am going to talk about if it's like a perfect match for me or how off it is or whatever the case may be. I am going to say the coverage that the foundation offers. I'm going to tell you the finish, and then I'm going to tell you how long lasting it is on my skin. Those are pretty much the main things that I want to hit. So the first one that I want to talk about is by Anastasia Beverly Hills. It's just the Anastasia Beverly Hills stick foundation. Mine is in the color Amber. I do have a first impressions on this. I'll link it down below. This matches me pretty perfectly. The color match I would say is pretty spot on. This is the color on my hand. I think you can see it like that. So it wears pretty nicely on the skin. It's definitely not the most long wearing by any means. It's very lightweight, and it definitely offers super duper ridiculously light coverage, probably less than like a tinted moisturizer would. And I would say the finish is maybe satin to matte. This to me is just so ridiculously low coverage. It's like there's no point at all in wasting time putting this on your face and blending it out. It's just like, why? The next foundation-ish kind of product that I'm grabbing is by Cover FX. This is the Cover FX Custom Cover Drops. Mine are in the color G70, which is a pretty good color match for me. You can see it on my hands, but it matches pretty well. The reason that I don't like these is because I find that these do not wear well on my skin. I find that they're not long lasting on me. The coverage is full, I would say. I would say you definitely can get a full coverage with this, but you're supposed to mix it with like a foundation or with a moisturizer or something like that. So it really depends how many drops you put in, and it really depends what you're mixing it with. But it just doesn't wear well on my skin. It settles into everything on my skin, and I usually don't really have this problem, but it settles so badly into my skin. It makes my face, no matter what I mix it with, look just bad. The next foundation I'm grabbing is the Milani Conceal and Perfect 2-in-1 foundation and concealer. Mine is in the color 09 Tan. I do really like this foundation. This color is, again, just like a dash, like the smallest amount darker than my actual skin tone. Very, very subtle difference. You really can't tell. This is drugstore, and it's so inexpensive, and it's so nice. This I would definitely say is a medium to full coverage. It's definitely buildable. I would say it's probably like a demi-matte finish. What's the other thing I wanted to say? And it does wear very, very nicely on the skin. I definitely recommend that for oily skin. I think that foundation wears beautifully. Next foundation I want to talk about is the only foundation that I own from Tarte. And this is the Tarte Clay Stick Foundation. Also have a first impressions on this. Also going to be linked down below. Mine's in the color Tan Deep Honey. You can see it a little bit. Yeah, you can see it's a little bit warmer. I really like this foundation. I do. I use it all the time. I would say it's medium coverage. I don't think it's buildable to full coverage. It's super lightweight, and it wears so nicely on my skin. I love the way that it looks. If you have oily skin, I think you would like it. Even if you have dry skin, I think you would like it. Next foundation that I want to talk about is by Maybelline. I have two foundations from Maybelline. The first one is the Superstay Better Skin Skin Transforming Foundation. I have mine in the color 90 Warm Honey, which matches me pretty perfectly. What I love about it is it's pretty full coverage. I would say medium to full, but you definitely can build it up to full. This is the color on my hand. It's super lightweight, but it is so long wearing, and it is, I would say, a demi-matte finish on the skin. When I say demi-matte, I just mean it's a matte finish that doesn't look super flat on the skin. It doesn't look drying, it doesn't look crinkly or anything like that. It just looks really healthy and it wears so long and so pretty. The next Maybelline foundation that I have to talk about is the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless. So this is 330 Toffee Caramel. I don't have a pump on this, so I don't know how I'm gonna get this swatch right now. This is about to be like really annoying. This is the color on my hand. It's so slightly darker, but it's definitely not noticeable. So it is more of a satin finish, and for that reason I feel like it doesn't wear as long on my skin. And it is a medium coverage. It's really pretty for any times that I don't need my foundation to last like all day. I will wear that. But if it's like an occasion where I need my makeup to last, it's not one that I would go for. But this is the Urban Decay All Nighter Waterproof Liquid Foundation. Mine is in 8.75. It's not one that I would go to for every day because it is extremely full coverage. You need so little of this product, it's like ridiculous. You can even see how full coverage it is on my hand. So that's it on my hand. So this wears really nicely on my skin. I wouldn't say it's the most long wearing foundation that I own, but it's a very nice one, and it's super duper full coverage like I said, but it doesn't feel like full coverage. You definitely feel it on your skin, like you can feel that there's foundation there and you can see it on there, but it's definitely not as heavy as you might think something this full coverage would be. The only powder foundation in my entire makeup collection is this one right here. This is the MAC Studio Fix powder. I have the color NC45. I'm usually not NC45 in MAC. I'm usually NC44, but I believe they don't make NC44 in this powder. I actually never ever wear this, and that's because I don't like it. It is matte on the skin, and it actually does offer like a pretty good amount of coverage for a powder foundation, but it does not wear on my skin. It doesn't wear well on my skin at all. It lasts like 3 hours and then I'm super oily. I find that it looks a little bit dry, and that could just be because it is a powder. But I don't really like it. I don't use it at all. I'm gonna have to get rid of this because like I literally never use it. So this foundation just brings back so many memories. This is pretty much the first, I think this is the first foundation that I bought, or maybe it's just the first high-end foundation that I bought. This is the MAC Studio Sculpt foundation, which is for dry skin. So if you have oily skin, please stay away from this. Mine's in the color NC44. I think every single MAC foundation that I have after this is in the color NC44. We'll see. But this foundation is medium to full coverage. It's very dewy on the skin, like extremely dewy, and it does feel a little heavy on the face, and on me it doesn't wear that long, of course, because it's super duper dewy. I'm only gonna swatch this one color on the back of my hand because NC44 is the same. This is it right here. This is NC44 in MAC Studio Sculpt. Next up is a little bit newer of a foundation. I don't think it's new per se. I do have a first impressions on this foundation on my channel. It will be linked down below. But this is the MAC Studio Waterweight SPF 30 foundation. This is what it looks like right here. Also in the color NC44. This is super lightweight, super light coverage. It's kind of like a satin finish on the skin, and it has a dropper. Like, it's just something that I usually wouldn't go for, but it's one of my favorites. It looks freaking gorgeous on my skin. I love it. It lasts really, really well, which you wouldn't think that it would, but it does. Like I said, watch that first impressions, but I love this one. Next foundation, of course, we can't talk about MAC without talking about Studio Fix Fluid. So here it is. I actually really like Studio Fix Fluid. Mine, again, NC44. I like Studio Fix Fluid. It's very, I would say it's medium to full coverage again. This you can definitely feel on the skin because, I mean, MAC foundations, they're a little bit more on the heavy side, and it's a matte finish. It's not like a demi matte, like it's matte. Lasts really well on the skin, and it's kind of just like a cult favorite. This horrendous, disgusting bottle is MAC Prolongwear foundation. This is the nastiest foundation ever. I think this might also be it's time, I think. NC44 is my color again. It's very similar in my opinion to Studio Fix Fluid. It's matte, it's medium to full coverage, although I would say it's a little bit less coverage than Studio Fix Fluid. And it's nice, but it's just nothing to like go crazy about, and I think this is my second bottle of it, but That's it, no more. This is MAC Matchmaster SPF 15 foundation in the color 6.0. I will swatch this for you because it's in 6.0. It's not NC44. This foundation I really like. So this is it on my hand. I find that this also wears really long on my skin, and it really just like absorbs oil. I would say this is like a demi matte finish and medium to full coverage again. Last MAC foundation that I have to talk about is the MAC Prolongwear Nourishing Waterproof Foundation. Mine is in the color NC42, and that's because they don't offer NC44 in this line, and I mean, at least they didn't when I purchased it. NC42 does not match me at all. I cannot wear this foundation if I don't mix it with something else. I can't wear this at all without mixing it, so it sucks, but at least now I have something to mix it with. This foundation I would say is pretty long lasting on my skin. It lasts really well throughout the day. Medium to full coverage, lightweight on the skin, nice. Definitely not a necessity for me. Next up is my Laura Mercier Flawless Fusion Ultra Longwear Foundation. I recently did a first impressions on this. I'll link it down below. It was a hot mess of a video. It was a hot mess. But mine is in the color 5N1 Pecan or Pecan, whatever. And this color is way too dark for me, way too dark. I don't believe that they have a perfect color for me. If you have this foundation and you have it in like the most perfect shade and you're my color, let me know, because I would be more than happy to pick it up. I do really like this foundation. I would say it's medium coverage, ridiculously lightweight on the skin, super lightweight, and it lasts so well. This is one of the foundations that lasts the best on my skin. It's super beautiful. The finish is like a demi matte. This is actually a problem that I've been having recently. Way too dark. This is the YSL, what is it? Fusion Ink Foundation. Mine is in the color B65 Toffee. It's a little bit darker than the other colors that I've been talking about today, but it works really well with my skin. It's matte for sure, and it feels really lightweight and like velvety on the skin. However, my problem with that foundation is that it doesn't last long on my skin, no matter what primer I use, no matter what I go in with, if I moisturize, no matter what I do. My face ends up getting super oily by like hour 4 or 5, and like that's not helpful. Speaking of foundations that I think don't last at all, this is the Kat Von D Lock It Tattoo foundation. Mine is in M62. I don't find that this lasts on my skin at all, and it actually looks really cakey, and I don't like this. I don't like this at all, and I'm probably gonna get rid of it because of how little I like it. It is very full coverage, very matte, but it's just not long lasting at all, and I don't like the way that it looks on my skin. Next foundation is the only one that I own by CoverGirl. This is the CoverGirl Ready Set Gorgeous Fresh Complexion Oil Free Foundation in 310. Here is the color swatch on my hand. Perfect match. It lasts amazing on the skin. It wears really nicely. It's like a demi matte finish. Again, I would say medium coverage. I don't even think you can build it up to full, but it's beautiful on the skin, like beautiful. When I went to Disney World recently, maybe I think in May is when I went, I brought this with me and I wore it, I think, all the days that I was there. It lasted so well with all the Florida humidity and like everything. It was good. It was good. I highly recommend this, and it's so cheap, like you can't go wrong. Sticking with drugstore, I have one Wet n Wild foundation that I want to talk about. This is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Foundation in Desert Beige. This color, if you are my skin tone, it's like a little bit light. I would prefer a color that's a little bit darker than this. This is a color here. You can see it's like more, it's very close to NC42, I think, from MAC. This foundation is definitely medium coverage, wears really nicely on the skin. It's not my favorite foundation of all time. It's not like I dislike it. I'm not obsessed with it. Next up is a Throwback Thursday with the most disgusting pump anyone's ever seen. This is the Estee Lauder Double Wear in the color 4W2 Toasty Toffee. That's like the smallest swatch. Almost nothing came out, but that's a color right there. Pretty perfect. It lasts really, really long on my skin, like a really long time. And the thing about it is that it looks beautiful on the skin. It doesn't look like a flat matte, like Like, it looks really lively, looks really pretty, and it is a matte finish, but it's like a demi matte finish, I would say. So the next one that I'm going to talk about is the Hello Flawless Oxygen Wow Foundation by Benefit. This is one of the most dewy foundations I believe that I own, and mine is in the color Hopelessly Hot. I'm Hopelessly Hot Hazelnut. This one is a little bit darker than my skin as well. I definitely just said Guel. I did. Did you hear that? Just a little bit. It's not off by much. I love how it looks when it's applied. It does break down pretty quickly on my skin. Of course, it's not as long lasting because it is a little bit more on the dewy side, but it is super gorgeous when you first apply it. I would say it's like light to medium coverage. It's definitely not full coverage. On the complete opposite side of the spectrum, this is the Smashbox Studio Skin Foundation. Mine is in 3.4. This one is definitely darker than my skin, maybe even darker than the Benefit one, but again, once everything's on, it looks really, really nice. This is one of the first foundations I ever fell in love with. I've used a whole bunch before I used this one, but when I used this one, it just did something for me. This one is much more on the matte side, and it wears a really long time on my skin. This is the color right here. It definitely works for my skin. I really like this foundation. Like I said, lasts amazing on my skin. Does not break down for ish. It's really good. I'm really happy with this one. So obviously we're talking about foundation. This had to happen. This is the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Foundation in 370. I obviously love this foundation. I'll link my first impressions down below. I think this foundation is amazing for oily skin. This is it right here. It looks very similar actually to the Smashbox color. Very similar. This foundation is definitely a medium coverage. I don't think that it's full coverage. I don't think you could get it to full coverage. It's very skin-like, but it's also definitely matte. Like, it's not a demi matte. It's matte. So I think if you have oily skin, you need to give that a try. I think that's one of the best for oily skin in this entire video. Next up is the Too Faced Born This Way foundation. I do have two shades. The colors that I have are Honey and Caramel. Honey is lighter than Caramel. Caramel matches me pretty perfectly. This foundation, again, one of the more dewy ones, one of the ones that lasts the least amount of time on my skin, but looks so good when initially applied. So this one's Honey and then this one's Caramel. Such a slight difference, but I just really prefer Caramel. It's a lot warmer. I feel like this looks a little bit more pink, so I prefer Caramel, but I mean, I guess you can really get away with either or. I would say it's medium coverage. I don't think you can build it up to full. I think medium is as crazy as you're getting, and I would definitely say it's like a satin, slightly dewy finish, but when you apply it on skin, it looks amazing. It looks so healthy, looks so radiant, so beautiful. Next foundation, I swear we're getting somewhere. We don't have that many more to talk about. This is the longest video ever. So this next one is the Natasha Denona Foundation X in 75 Dark. I think this looks amazing on oily skin. It wears probably one of the best long-lasting foundations that I own is this foundation right here. It's definitely matte and I would say medium coverage. I don't know if you can build it up to full, but it's definitely medium coverage. I wore this for my baby shower and I didn't have to touch up once throughout the night, and if you know what Dominican baby showers are like, that's a big deal. So this is it right here on my hand. This is like the perfect color in my opinion. I love the way that this looks on the skin when it's blended out, and it's a really good one. I would say maybe like top 5. Next up are two Makeup Forever foundations. I have the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Stick and the Ultra HD Liquid. I don't know which one I'm going to talk about first. Let's talk about the liquid first. I do have both of these in the color Y445. I find that the liquid does not last on my skin as long as I would like it to. It breaks down pretty quickly, and it is a matte finish with like light to medium coverage. It just does not last on my skin, and I don't really like the way that this looks when I initially apply it. I find it looks a little bit drying on the skin. Now for the one that I definitely do like, this is the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Stick, also in Y445. There is the stick foundation and then there is the liquid foundation. It looks like significantly lighter, but both colors work fine on me. It's just really weird. I actually really like this stick foundation. The only problem that I have is, again, it doesn't last that long on my skin. This is not as matte of a finish as the liquid foundation is. This one is definitely more on like the satin. I would say it has like a satin finish. I think it has more coverage than the liquid one, which is weird. If I need my makeup to last a really long time, this is not what I would go for. If I need it to last, to look really good for a few hours, that's when I would pull that out. And I really do like it, just not for a long wear period. You know? Speaking of stick foundations, this is the Hourglass Vanish Stick Foundation in the color Amber. I like this foundation. I did do a first impressions on this. I'll link it in the description box. I think I've said that 55 times during this video. It's super duper warm, like crazy warm. It looks like straight up orange on my skin, and I've never had that happen to me before. And you can even see it on my hand. Look how warm that is. I would say it's medium to full coverage, demi matte finish, and it wears decently on my skin. I would say you can get like a good 6-hour wear out of this. I don't find that this personally lasts all day on my skin. I find that it starts to break down after a while. I like it. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I like it. This is the Dior Skin Air Flash Foundation in the color 501. Did I do a first impressions? No, I did a full face first impressions, and this was in that video, so that's gonna be linked down below. I don't really love this foundation, and I know everyone else does, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. The color match is okay. It's a little dark, but you know, it works. You see what I'm saying? I can't get down with the spray. It annoys the crap out of me. And on top of that, it doesn't have that much coverage. It's definitely like light to medium coverage. It's kind of on the satin side. I just feel like for $62, like I could have done way better. This is the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte Foundation. I have two colors. I have the color 108 Caramel Beige and 110 Cream Cafe. I love this foundation, and I find it very similar to that CoverGirl foundation. So if you have one, I don't feel you need the other one. The only thing that I would say is different is this is a lot more matte on the skin. So these are the two shades on my hand. Here's 108, here's 110. 110 is the one that I use. I pretty much never use 108, so I should probably just get rid of it. But I really like this foundation. It's very matte on the skin, very long lasting, and it has, I would say, medium to full coverage. This is the twin sister, sort of. Well, I guess it could be a twin sister because, you know, twins are not always the same, you know? They look the same, but they're not actually the same. This is the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Glow. Mine is in 209. I think this is one of those foundations that wears beautifully on the skin. One of the longest lasting dewy foundations that I own, I would say. And it's just really beautiful. This has a little lighter coverage. Maybe this is just medium coverage, whereas the Pro Matte is medium to full coverage. Last L'Oreal foundation that I have to talk about is the L'Oreal Infallible Total Cover in 310 Classic Tan. This foundation I'm not too fond of. I like the Pro Matte, I like the Pro Glow. This one I'm kind of just, it's okay. I don't find that this is full coverage. This is medium coverage to me. I would say it's like a demi matte finish, and it wears nicely throughout the day. It does last pretty long. This is the color on my hand. So this is the NARS Sheer Glow foundation. Mine is in the color Syracuse. It's definitely not sheer by any means. I would say this is medium coverage without a doubt. Like not even light to medium. I would say it's medium coverage. And it has like a satin finish. It's not matte, but it's definitely not dewy. It just looks really gorgeous on the skin, and it lasts really well throughout the day. This is another really confusing case of like L'Oreal Pro Glow where like I'm oily and this is not a matte foundation, but it still lasts long on my skin. It's like, but how'd you do that? So this is the color Syracuse right here. You can see pretty much matches me perfectly. I do really enjoy the NARS Sheer Glow. This is the NARS All Day Luminous Weightless Foundation, also in the color Syracuse. Syracuse is medium dark 1, by the way. This foundation I find lasts well on my skin. I feel like it looks a little cakey after a while. Like it'll stay on my skin, but it'll just start to cake up in certain areas. And it has, again, medium coverage. I feel like everything I'm saying has medium coverage, but I feel like majority of foundations have medium coverage nowadays, and I like it. I don't love it. I've never been like obsessed with it. This is again the color Syracuse by NARS. The final foundation that I have to talk about, thank God, is actually what I'm wearing on my skin today, and it's not even really, look at how gross that bottle is. So this is the NARS Velvet Matte Skin Tint with SPF 30. And mine is in the color Annapurna, which is medium 2. This is matte on my skin, more like a demi matte because it doesn't look flat on my face. You can see it's a pretty good color. It does have a scent to it, which I just forgot until right now. But it's nothing that is like too overpowering. It's matte, it has medium to full coverage. It has coverage, and this has some really good lasting power. I love the way this looks on my skin in the beginning of the day, the middle of the day, the end of the day. I love this. So a solid 2 hours later, that's it. That's my whole entire foundation collection. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful. Thank you for being so patient with me because I know it took me forever to actually finally sit down and do this, but I'm glad that I finally did. Don't forget to subscribe if you guys are not already. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Snapchat. I'll leave that all down below, as well as all of the foundations that we talked about today. And I'll leave all of the makeup that I'm wearing on my face right now since I didn't do a tutorial. Let me know if you guys would like a tutorial because on Snapchat you guys are already going crazy. You already have requested it. I think that's all I have to say, and I'm sweating, so I'm gonna have to see you guys in my next video. Bye. Hi friends, welcome back. So today I'm bringing you guys another video, and this is going to be another full face using one brand tutorial.